Hello and welcome to another episode of Interview with a Schizophrenic. I'm your host, Duncan Samra Singer, and today I have the great pleasure of having Joshua with me. Joshua
Hello.
is from North Carolina, he's 25. He has a dual diagnosis of schizophrenia and dissociative identity disorder. So, welcome, Joshua. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right today, my friend. The day is still young, so
Yeah,
I've had my coffee. I've seen the dogs. Things are going all right today, my man. How are you doing?
yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Just enjoying. I got a day off from work today, just
All
enjoying,
right.
relaxing. Um, I'll probably go out for a walk later. Just walk out, walk in
Get out in
the
nature. Get
yeah,
get you
nature.
some stuff,
Exactly. Yeah,
man. Nice.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, get you out in nature. Get you the energies rocking. It's all good, man. I like that. I like taking walks. That's why I have 8 dogs personally. That
Eight.
way I have no excuse to stay inside all day.
Yeah,
Someone just gotta go.
I'm gonna be getting a dog as well.
They're
Um,
awesome, man. I have a Labrador and a Great Dane, and then the greater family we have 4 golden retrievers, a boxer, and two long-haired Chihuahuas. So we got our
cool.
hands full. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something which I'm planning to do. When I get my car, I'll probably be able to do it then because then I'll be able to transport the dog safely when I need to.
Yeah. Well, you're
Um,
in the UK. I imagine the animal culture is different over there, aren't you?
but they're pet lovers in the UK. Yeah,
Oh, they are. Well, I
yeah,
imagine like the culture around them is different. Like in America, like I live in the South, right? So it ain't too uncommon to see somebody walking them off the leash just down the street with a bag in their hand. I imagine y'all are a little bit more refined over there.
yeah. Maybe. I suppose so. Maybe. Yeah. Where I live, you get a lot of dog walkers, but actually they're off the leash a lot of the time because it's quite natural where I am. So you do get people walking on the beach with, just letting the dog run free. Um,
Yeah, we just got them in the neighborhood. Like they're just they just open the front door and go. Yeah, the South is kind of wild, man. We do things different down here.
yeah, well, that freedom sounds good to me. I'm all for
It,
that.
it, it, it has its perks and it has its
Yeah,
disadvantages. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You got to be worried everywhere you go because people are wild, but you get away
Okay,
with it.
okay, Joshua, let's start. So I'm going to ask the first question. Um, I want you to give me a history of your mental health journey. Um, you can go back because obviously sometimes the symptoms start when we're very young and we're not even aware of it. So you can start when you feel comfortable, what at age what you feel comfortable with, and sort of bring us up to the present day. And if there's any parts which sort of think I want more information, I'll just pipe in and ask a question or something. Um, this is where me and Joshua are planning to have 2 episodes, and the second episode, um, Josh is also going to showcase something that he's produced. Um, so yeah, so let's start. Let's start, Joshua. Talk about your general history.
Okay. So I suffer from the full gambit. So I get visual, tactile, as well as auditory hallucinations. And they all came in different waves. So I started getting visual hallucinations when I was young. I was 6 years old. We just moved into our new house, and I took a nap in the basement. And when I woke up, there were children, like shadow children, like running around me in circles around the room. Those children persisted until my preteen years, and then they kind of consolidated into one large form. And he named himself Ziggy. I don't know why. I don't know where it comes
Well,
from.
Joshua,
Yes,
did
sir.
you tell your parents about this?
No, actually, that's a huge part of my personality. So I had that avoidant personality type. That's me to a T. My hero is a man named Neil Cassidy. He's a beat
Yeah,
poet who is also a schizophrenic, who made it his life's mission, pursuit, or whatever, to run from it as much as possible. So he is actually, if you've ever read On the Road by Jack Kerouac, Neil Cassidy is the real person that the character Dean Moriarty is based off of, because
yeah.
it's Jack Kerouac's stories about his life on the road. So I read that book young, and I fell in love with Neil Cassidy's, and it just kind of is who I am now. I run from things, and I ran from this for a really long time, and I didn't I didn't start my mental health journey until this year. Actually, when
Yeah.
I turned 25, it became I was past the point of no return. I couldn't explain it away any further, and so I decided to finally pursue help. I was soft diagnosed at 18, um, but I didn't tell anybody anything until this year.
So in 18, were you medicated or anything?
No, actually. So I suffered a psychotic episode. I was living in a 2 bedroom townhouse with a friend of mine, and there was one day in particular. Don't remember what was going on. Don't remember what had happened. Wasn't particularly high. You know what I mean? I completely blacked out. Found sidewalk chalk somewhere because I didn't personally own sidewalk chalk, and I wrote "Please help me" on the sidewalk. And then after that, I was like, okay, well, I should probably go get help. I went. They told me I could possibly be schizophrenic, and it scared. I don't know if I can swear here, but it scared me. So I ran. I ran away from medication and help. I haven't even paid him yet for the initial diagnosis. I haven't even paid. That's a 7-year-old doctor's bill. I owe him $50 still. Um, and then a bunch of stuff happened this year. I suffered another psychotic break, and then I just couldn't, or not really a psychotic break, more so a lapse. I regressed toward the condition, and the poison had reached my lips, and I couldn't explain it away any further. You know what I mean? This couldn't just stay something mysterious that was wrong with me that I was kind of hinted at. It needed a name, and it has two. It
Yeah.
was crazy, yeah. Um, yeah. So
So
I struggle with disassociation, and I always have really. So I've always kind of ascribed these feelings were somebody else's, and they were being put there. You know.
did you have any traumatic experiences when you were younger that could have triggered this?
I mean, I don't really think it was onset by one particular trauma. Yes, I can point back to certain traumas in my childhood, but I don't particularly want to dredge those stories up. But as I've looked back with my therapist, there wasn't one specific trauma. Like my parents hadn't gotten their divorce yet. You know what I mean? We had just moved house. Like that was the crazy. The wildest thing that had happened at that point in my life was I had a buddy named Scott. His father had passed away of a suicide overdose or an overdose, committed suicide. Passed away for suicide overdose. He committed suicide by an overdose, and then the same week, their house got carpet bombed. Like people in the neighborhood like burned their house down with like napalm and shit. Um, so then they moved. And that was the most traumatic thing that had happened to me. Nothing had happened to me. Something had happened to my friend, and I had to like register it. But like, nah, like it wasn't really set on by one particular trauma. It was really just I'm just kind of built this way, man. I got friends
Mm.
behind my eyes, and it's always been this way. Um, I don't know, man. Like I've looked for the specific, and it gets worse when there are external stressors. Like when my father had a heart attack a couple years back. It got real bad around then. You know what I mean? I still got stuff I got to apologize to family for how I behaved then. You
So
know, but
I think visual hallucinations are quite rare. I've had them occasionally, but not. It's not been a constant thing for me. So for me personally, it's difficult for me to imagine. Um, so why didn't you give a more in-depth explanation of these hallucinations? And why have you considered that they could be ghosts? Did you consider they could be ghosts?
I
Or
did consider it could be ghosts, and then they started to touch me. I considered that they were ghosts until I was in high school and one had sex with me. Yeah, that's a real story. I woke up at like 3 in the morning to a shadow figure fucking me. Yeah, it was wild, and it's like I developed a sex aversion that persists to this day. Like I don't pursue sex with people unless I absolutely trust them, and not everyone gets that kind of. Not everyone gets that from me.
yeah.
Um, like nah, I ruled out that it was ghosts when nobody else could register them. You know, because everybody wants to believe in ghosts. Nobody wants to see demons in their head. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to hear voices in their head. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
when people were actively denying the ghost, that's when I knew it was me. And that happened sometime in fuck. I think it happened in middle school because my auditory hallucination started around the time I started getting into girls. I would hear like a Call of Duty flashbang sound for like seconds, like 45, 50 seconds at a time. That's when the voices started to kick up, my insecurities get preyed upon. And then of course the children morphed into Ziggy, who's like a 8 foot tall black dude. Like, and when I don't mean African American, I mean like he's a shadow figure,
Mm.
with like flame red hair, and he just kind of follows me around and stares at me at times. He's like a sleep paralysis demon that comes around when I'm awake. it's kind of
So
it's kind of weird.
do you believe you're manifesting these hallucinations yourself? Is that what you feel your explanation is, or do you have another explanation?
Well, I have a few survival tactics I've informed myself of. So, like, I always try to gamify them. Like I'll essentially take my delusional thought process and then I'll wrap it around a real subject, so as to cope with it. So, am of an alien species, and these are actually my ancestors transmitting things to me, and or like I am from some astral plane and people are communicating to me like my ancestors are manifesting strangely, or I'm just one of the damned. Like it's
I mean, okay. I think what we go through with this condition is a lot of unexplainable activity. Um, because I asked about trauma because I believe trauma affected me. Um, but I also feel there is a predisposition. So some of us are more likely to develop schizophrenia than other people. And maybe there's a little trigger. Maybe something triggered you, or maybe it didn't, and it just happened. It just happened spontaneously. But I think we're predisposed.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's actually funny because my older brother was born autistic. And from what I'm told by my psychiatrist, they're on a similar spectrum. So I believe myself to have the predisposition to it. That's why I don't like. I've done every drug you can possibly name that is not heroin. I rode Greyhound buses for fun. Like you know what I mean. Like there's a lot that could have set it off, but I feel as if no, I was just always kind of this way. Um, it's not a drug induced psychosis that I suffer. The drugs help me escape the psychosis. Um,
were you doing the drugs after the psychosis?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Way
Yeah.
after. So I would already been to my testament. I'd already been suffering from what I now know to be schizophrenia for 5 years before I'd ever touched weed, and then all I smoked was weed for 6 years, and then I got into the real shit when I grew up and I got out of high school. And I took to that like a fish to water, brother. I'll tell you what, methamphetamine cures whatever the fuck this is. I don't know why. There's
Mm,
something about the Nazi super soldier chemical that makes my brain work. And
mm,
that's very strange. It's very dissonant to know that my supposed cure is out there ruining people's lives. It's odd.
mm.
Um, but yeah, man. Like I feel as if definitely predisposed to this, and it just kind of gradually got worse and worse over time. Like, uh, and it's just kind of to the point. Like, I've been in a state of active psychosis for it started in January. Because I had a buddy die. I had a friend named Will Yano Sierra. He was a cool dude, man.
Mm,
He went out to California, got sober, came back, and then sadly fell back into the same patterns that he had left because he couldn't afford to go anywhere else. And then it ended up being the death of him. And it breaks my heart. It still breaks my heart. But he was in my car 3 days before he passed away. I was trying to get him, I was in welding school at the time. I was trying to get him to come with me, like trying to help him get out of where he was. And he just couldn't make it. And it fucked me up, man. Like, I ain't gonna lie. And I'm still in
mm,
that state of active psychosis. Like, I can't go in public without my hand shaking. I've got like a mauve scarf, like a real
mm.
big like scarf that I wear over my head, like I'm Taz in like ECW from the '90s. Yeah, man, it's yeah, it's been tough coping with it all this year. But it's gotten to the
I
point where
mean,
I can't deny it any further. You know.
you sound like a free spirited, natural, adventurous person,
Thank you.
but also I would say maybe where you live it's okay, but the world is a lot different to when you know the world is more regimented these days. There's more authoritarian secrets, more conspiracies. Do you feel that? Do you feel that friction between like the world
Oh
and
yeah.
how you want to live it?
Yeah, it's terrifying because like it's crazy that's the question you asked because there's a lot going on in the world right now, right? And it almost feels as if the discourse that's happening amongst the general population is relative to what goes on within my own mind. Like
Mm,
this has been a long stood delusion of mine to where it almost feels as if the volume of my brain dictates the volume of the room. And that, in speaking with other schizophrenics, that isn't just mine.
mm,
Um, things tend to react at the same time that I tend to react.
mm,
Like in 2016, when things started getting really bad for me, Trump rode the escalator. It's very strange. Yeah, there's a lot going on in the world that's terrifying, and there's a lot going on in my own mind that's terrifying. And so I try to ignore it all and pursue a fun life anyway. Like life changes constantly. Life is always changing. They told me that life was going to change after my diagnosis, and it's done changed 3 times since. I've learned new barriers and new thresholds with which I can personally manage.
mm,
Um, like I'm literally on disability right now. I'm fully disabled because of my mental
mm,
illness, man. It's it's kind of nuts. But I feel as if I owe it to myself, I suppose, or to whomever is watching, I guess, to try to live in spite because there's a lot of reason to just hide anymore,
yeah.
and I'm kind of sick of hiding. You know, like I ran and hid from this condition for a long time, and I've never voted in my adult life because I've never liked any candidate that's ran.
Mm.
Um, so I suppose you could say I'm running from that too. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah, I can
weird.
understand. I can. That's what I can definitely see that. When I watch the television, the news, it's quite paranoid. It's quite conspiratorial. There's quite a lot of witch hunting going on. You know, going after particular folk quite viciously. There's a lot of that sexual. There's a climate of fear with sexuality. Anybody does anything vaguely sexual, it's like a sexual assault.
Yeah,
There's like the UFO conspiracy. You know, do you know what I mean? And what
yeah.
message are the aliens trying to give to us that the government does not want to, or the secret cabal in the government does not want us to know about? You know, and there's also a spiritual kind of shift that a lot of people are talking about, where we want to ascend to a higher level in this current time to get away from financial greed, um, and corporate personalities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We want to come back to nature, come back, have some of the old values because of the technology revolution that has happened, where a lot of folk just hide behind their phones. All that is going on.
It
You
isn't that
know,
people are hiding behind their phones, my friend. It's that we're programmed to be on the phone. You see, social media was the market's response to a generation that demanded to perform. We all want to be famous. We all want to be rich. We all want to be Paris Hilton. You know what I mean? So it gave us social media. We're constantly performing to each other all the time. You're speaking of a technological revolution. It's a more of a social revolution because now every single human being with a cell phone is a marketable property. Now every single human being is able to create their own platform and boost their own products and create their own revenue stream just solely from their own pocket. Um,
I think that's good though.
I
I
think
think
it's great. I think it's great, but what
you
comes
know
with it is a lot of problems. Spiritually, the world is put at war because what it now means is that our very humanity is able to be profited from. And what that means is we're not able to look to the religions of the day that are constantly bastardized and profited from, and we're able to just simply reject them. We're
Mm.
able to just simply reject them. So spiritually, the world is at war because the religions of the day don't know what to do. I mean, look, go into Earthbound and tell me Buddhism is actually practiced in that store. It's not. It's not. You know what I mean? Like it's just simply not. Things are being bastardized and sold for profit, and it's to the point where people are being bastardized and sold for profit as well.
It's like so I was watching the film War Games with Matthew Broderick last night, and it's an '80s film, brilliant film.
I've heard
Um,
of it, never seen it, sir.
yeah, it's and there was one point where they're talking about human decency, these values. Um, in a war setting, they don't have these values, but I think these days human decency values have gone out the window as well. Where we just care about other people's feelings, and we respect that. I think that just doesn't happen anymore. There's
Yeah,
so much dysfunction.
you see a lot
Um,
of that in America, especially because what'll happen is people will state how they're feeling, and then people in America, because this is all I can speak to, the only culture I can speak to is
yeah,
American culture, and people will take that as a challenge to their own lifestyle, and they'll respond negatively. Because America, whether you want to cut it this way or not, it is a demagoguery, and it was built in the '90s via the television. We constantly profit off of tearing each other down and ripping each other apart. So when somebody tries to express themselves honestly, or tell somebody like they're dealing with an issue, and you know what I mean, like immediately it becomes like a point of contention because it isn't immediately easy. The town that I live in, it was ranked 10th on the worst places in the country to date, just because of these very reasons. Now, it's important to understand that everyone you're dealing with that seems to piss you off is another human being dealing with their own personal issues, and they might be taking it out on you, whatever. But you make a good point. A lot of decency is going out the window, and a lot of that is because it isn't safe to be decent anymore. It isn't safe for a lot of girls to simply say no. You know what I mean? It just isn't because men aren't raised to accept that as an answer. Um,
yeah.
like there's a lot of decency that is going away because of people's behavior, and there's a lot that's going away just because people are misunderstanding what's happening in the first place.
Exactly, because this conversation doesn't usually happen. So you've got to go through that life experience to understand the behaviors which can seem confusing. Because
That's why it's so sketchy to give the mic to my generation. Like we've been through some stuff. Like I have never met somebody my age who doesn't have some mental illness or some terrible trauma. Like we've all got something we've had to go through. But
yeah,
we have the platform, we have the microphone,
mm,
the whole shit. All social media is dictated toward us because we're the only ones who are on the phone, really.
yeah.
Um, so you give us the microphone and look at all the noise we make. And it
But I think that's a good thing. You know, um, I think content creation, getting your genuine thoughts across onto the internet is it I believe is a really good thing, because that's what's making people heard and is connecting people. So if they relate to what you're saying, that
mm,
helps them, and it
yeah.
gives them confidence to speak about it as well. Because I believe in honesty and personal growth. So if you can speak honestly, you have that courage to speak honestly, then you will grow, and other folk will help you grow as well. It can be dangerous because people can take advantage of you, but that's just life, isn't it? It's
Yeah. I've learned that in particular this year that if you take the time to stop and heal, if you throw the energy that I'm trying to grow and I'm trying to get better, people are willing to meet you.
yeah,
Not everybody, and there's a lot of apologies that will just go unforgiven. But people are willing to come and meet you if you're willing to stop. Like if you're willing to get better, people are willing to meet you halfway with it. Like I've learned that a lot this year. People who I didn't expect have met me halfway. Um, just because I realized I had problems and I couldn't stop taking them out on people, so I just stopped talking to people. Like I've hit the shut the fuck up button for the past 10 months. This would be like my first public appearance. You know what I mean? Since then, quote unquote, I'm a nobody, but you know what I mean. Like I've just been
Nah,
hiding.
nah.
You know.
I mean, we're all somebody, aren't we? Really, I believe in spiritual sense, so that I believe we all have a spirit. We all are spirit. So
We're all
that
connected
kind
in a
that
way.
that kind of empowers each and every one of us. Um, I don't. I'm not going to talk about that now, but
You're welcome to.
well, it's just that also I believe in reincarnation. So not only have we, most of us has probably lived on this planet before. We may have lived on other planets as well, in past lives, because maybe a lot of us mostly have just lived on the Earth. So we might have lived in the ancient times, and so if we understand that part of us, that we are spirits, it really does empower us, and not in a sense of like, oh yeah, I'm going to be bullying people. No, it's more about, yeah, I can really believe in myself. I can, yeah, maybe I fucked up a bit this lifetime, but everybody has, because it's been such a weird lifetime. This lifetime's like one of the weirdest ones I've ever had, but do you know what I mean? I
I can
think
speak to that one. Yes, sir. Yeah,
I think that's true, right? It's just such a,
it's a very comforting concept.
yeah,
Now I've personally dabbled with the Buddhist faith quite a bit. I've read the what is it?
Dhammapada.
Yes. I'm sorry. I have a flashcard of it in my car. I've read the
Yeah,
actual scroll, but I have flashcards of it, and I couldn't
yeah.
remember it. And I got a little Buddha statue in my car. Um, but for some reason, reincarnation, I could never really get with as a concept.
Mm,
The idea that we're all spirit, we're all connected, we're all part of something larger, we're all a shard of element broken off by the Big Bang.
mm,
I love that part of it.
mm,
But to me, it makes a lot more sense, or it works better for my sensibility that you only get but one take. Um,
mm.
like for
That's
me,
what you're
like
supposed to believe.
yeah,
That's
you
what you're
just get
supposed
one
to believe.
shot.
Yeah, but that's why when we're born, we can't remember anything what happened to us before born, because we're kind of like God or the higher spirits. They want this lifetime to be authentic as possible. So you're supposed to believe this is your only shot at it.
Gotcha.
Do
But
you
the
know what I mean?
grander wisdom is you're part of
Yeah,
something larger. Just do your
yeah,
thing, and
yeah,
we'll take care of the rest.
yeah. They want you
Okay,
to believe this is, so then you really think, yeah, I've got to, do you know what I mean? But I think that,
I
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
I like that a lot, actually. I like
I've
that a
done a
lot.
lot of reading about this sort of thing.
It
um
sounds like you have. It sounds like
yeah,
it's something that you're very passionate about.
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
um
Now, my question to you, because you brought them up earlier, how much involvement do you think aliens have had in the human race? Like, do you think they've been here? Do you think we have their technology still? Do you think they are here currently? Like, you've just nodded to everything. All right,
I
my
agree.
kind of guy.
So I think aliens visited us thousands of years ago. They helped ancient civilizations. Perhaps we were floundering and they wanted to give us, in many ways, I think they wanted to give us a spiritual guide, because I suspect like certain religions and certain cultures have been heavily influenced by aliens. I don't think they came down here and were like predator and hunted us. They were giving us some sort of meaning to our lives. They were pushing us in a direction where they gave me meaning and beauty of art. You know,
So they came and
so
shared their. This
yeah.
came.
So
That
I
came down.
generally I think most, probably not all, but most aliens are benevolent to us, are good to us.
Yeah.
Um,
I hold the same belief. I believe that there are thousands, millions of species of aliens,
yeah,
and the reason we assume that they're going to become violent toward us is because we're the only violent ones. Like I believe that we're like the ghetto of the universe. You know what I mean? Like we're down here in Louisiana. Like we're in the bayou
Yeah.
over here.
I think for some reason where we want to fight, we have a history of wars. Um, but I think what the human culture does says, I do think we've got a sense of beauty and a sense of art and and good science. I
So
think we've got.
do you think they were present during the Renaissance, the Italian Renaissance?
I think that was probably just us. But looking back, say like ancient Egypt or in South America, those sort of cultures, I think they're definitely influenced by aliens.
Gotcha.
You know,
I'm actually of the belief that every like freak athlete we have is actually just an alien coming down to try to inspire us even further. Like your Usain Bolts, your Fedor Emelianenkos, your Habib, whatever, however you say his last name, Nurmagomedov. Like all those guys, the guys who just come in, like Michael Jordan, like when they come in and just change the sport. Yeah, I think those guys are aliens. I think they come down here just to try to like, go humans here. Here's
I
a
think I think
technique.
I think we have a lot to offer as a species,
I do too.
and I think the fact that aliens do believe in us is why they help us. If they thought we were useless, we'd probably be on a
We'd
farm
be
for them.
enslaved by now,
We'd be
probably.
slaves, exactly.
Yeah.
So I
So
think I
we
think they
that
see.
we would know it.
Yeah, I think they do see a value and they do respect us. And the way that respect is shown is they try to give us free will. But yeah, I do believe there is a conspiracy. I do believe that that certain people in power, not just in America but throughout world governments, do have had contact with aliens, and they've been keeping it quiet. Um,
I believe they have current contact. I believe like it's a
Current contact.
ongoing thing.
I think there was a case of Congress, and I think I just hope there will be disclosure soon. To be honest with
Well,
you,
the Pentagon did release like a bunch of documents that nobody like kind of went unheard of. Like I think it was 2 years ago. They were like, "Yo, look, UFOs, crop circles,
yeah,
all that stuff, real. Here's the evidence. Bah. By the way, here's COVID money." And then just nobody talked about it. So like
yeah,
they are definitely real. They are definitely out there, and that's wild to think about. Your childhood fantasies are genuinely confirmed. I just
yeah,
I know how humans are, and I know humans love a good nickname. I think that there's a human out there who has a nickname for an alien, and it's something stupid like Chuck. Like,
uh, yeah. Because I think they're probably quite soft. These aliens. They're probably like, all right, let's give them microchips and stuff. They're quite soft, soft-hearted, and then probably the army general was like, okay, we can take advantage of these guys and build spaceships and then be like the empire or something. So I think they probably took advantage of the aliens' good nature. Um, I think generally the aliens are quite probably kind beings, quite benevolent.
could be that,
So
or it could be that we're a primate-based species, and everybody loves a good monkey. Everybody loves monkeys. Could be that.
you got to wonder. Like the typical alien with like the oval head, the V-shaped head, and the massive eyes.
Big
Do you
eyes.
think that's not like any animal, right? So do you reckon they
Some of them,
genetic?
like the eye, it's got big weird eyes. You know what I mean, with like a bigger cover than actual eyeball.
Mm,
The eyeball shape is similar to like something like a fly. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And the big head. I mean, you ought to see my brother. But no, like no, but like I don't think the composite alien, like the gray alien that we all know in our head with the big head and the
yeah,
big eyes, like I don't think that that's actually what an alien looks like. Kind of like how no Native American tribe did the like that's just a Hollywood thing.
mm,
I feel like that's just somebody's idea. Like, how do we make the unknown look knowable? Okay,
mm,
well, let's make it look like this.
mm,
I don't believe in that type of alien at all. I believe that that's a Hollywood concoction. I think the aliens that we're actually dealing with are way cooler. And I think they're kind
mm.
of like Pokemon, where like they're based on animals, but like they're fucking like crazy. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah,
Komodo
yeah.
dragon. The
You
Isle of
know,
Komodo is home to an alien base. I know it. Komodo dragons are not of this earth.
Okay, Joshua, let's close it here. We're gonna do another episode, and we'll talk about psychosis. We'll talk about the artwork that you've done. Um, and before we close, can you just let me know a genre of music, and I'll tag it on to this episode? Do you want me to add some electro pop or some rock music or so, some genre?
Yeah. Can I actually just give you a song?
Well, I've got a selection of non-royalty
Oh, gotcha,
music.
gotcha, gotcha. Well then, could you give me jazz or swing, something
Yeah.
like that?
Okay, okay, cool. It was absolute pleasure talking to you. I think we had like quite a relaxed chat
Yeah, this was
about,
fun.
yeah, quite sort of relaxed chat about everything and anything. I think the next episode will delve into some of your symptoms, into the psychosis, and we'll delve a bit deeper into that. Um, yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, this is awesome, man. I had a great time. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. Cheers.
Bye.